Welcome back to Houston Life. There's a live look outside from our Avenida Houston Cam Discovery Green, folks. So now that the waters are receding in most areas, the cleanup process begins. It's messy and it's smelly, folks, and it's not good, but it will get better. From preventing mold growth to drying out your furniture, Anthony Cruz, flood and mold expert with Advanta-Clean, is here with some helpful tips. All right, Anthony, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Clayton earlier.
Okay.
People are first coming home to their homes, whether there was a foot of water or just a few inches. Where do they start to prevent mold growth?
Well, the first thing they need to do is really to protect themselves. This flood water, it comes with a lot of bacteria and sometimes comes from sewage and everything. So you want to, anything that you're doing, you want to make sure that you're not touching that water. You're using respirator, goggles, rubber boots and gloves to make.
And these are some of the, tips we have on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Of course, like gloves, boots, and face masks. I've seen so many pictures or videos of people just sort of walking with bare legs into water. That's not a very good idea, right?
No, I mean that. You don't know where that's water being. A lot of times it comes from the sewage.
Yeah.
It just comes with a lot of bacteria and it smells bad. You definitely don't want to be there.
And Anthony, before we get into sort of the cleanup process or mold remediation or preventing mold growth, talk to me a little bit about the dangers of mold, because this is where I feel like people get a little bit either confused or alarmed. This is sort of like an invisible danger. If you have mold growing in your walls and those mold spores are airborne, right? You breathe them into your body, that's problematic, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can cause all sort of respiratory issues. But one of the main things, especially when you have smaller kids or elderly people in general, that the immune system is weak.
So like a compromised immune system, they're especially vulnerable.
Yeah, they're especially vulnerable. I mean, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's costing you something, but it's not allowing you to get any better on anything that you do.
Got it. So it may not kill you, but it could exacerbate a situation or make worse existing health conditions that you're already facing.
That is correct. I mean, there's very little research on mold related on the effects that it does on people. But there have been several cases that have been pinpointed to certain illnesses.
How quickly does mold grow? Because this, again, is a question that's come up a lot as people are getting back into their homes. You know, how quickly can they get the drywall off, the insulation out, the wet items out of the house so it can begin to dry out? Is mold growing sort of right away, or does it take some time?
So mold can start growing as soon as 48 hours. Sometimes you will not see it, because it will start growing, but people typically, when you see colonies growing, that means it has already been growing for a while, because when you actually see it, that means that now there's like a little colony there.
Oh my gosh.
But as soon as 24 hours, 48 hours, it can actually start growing.
And is the mold, in terms of the mold that's visible and the mold that may be growing inside the wall, is there any difference there? What should people be looking for?
Well, so mold that is visible, it just means that it has been wet for a longer period of time. Because at the end of the day, if you look, all of our homes has mold. When we walk outside, we have mold spores everywhere. That's nature's way of decomposing things. But it's something that we really don't. But there's certain molds like Stachybotrys schistomium, and those are what are considered like toxic molds, and they produce a mycotoxin. So those are the ones that you really don't want to have in your home, because, I mean, once they get disturbed, they start producing those mycotoxins, and those are the things that start affecting people.
Okay, got it. What about mildew? Because there's a very, I don't even know how to describe it, horrible smell when it comes to mildew. The first hurricane I covered was 1999, Hurricane Floyd. I was in North Carolina in homes that had water line up to the walls. Mold was everywhere, but you're not actually smelling the mold, right? You're smelling the mildewy smell.
Well, when you're smelling that, that's typically a sign that a colony starts to develop and start growing.
So what's the difference then between mold and mildew?
At the end of the day, they're basically part of the same family. Because you just don't want them there.
You don't want to be part of that family?
You don't want them there. So you just need to get rid of them. Either or.
Okay, so that was like a good basic mold 101 lesson. So let's move into then how people can either remove mold or prevent mold from growing in their home.
So to prevent mold from growing, you need to control your moisture. So in this case, we had a flood. So it's the difference. So the first thing, I mean, you need to try to get things dry as quick as possible.
So get the wet items out.
Yes.
Let things dry. Critical, critical.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's, and then after that, then that's when you. After you get all the items out, you sprayed a fungicide, what was mentioned earlier, and that will kill bacteria, mold, and different things that will grow in there to help sanitize the area.
So the fungicide can prevent the future growth. I mean, obviously, this is your business, so you guys know how to do this. Is Houston prone to like any specific types of mold? Are there all kinds of mold?
Oh, there are all kinds.
All kinds.
Yep.
Okay, so you're not like looking for one particularly insidious type of mold.
No, so whenever a mold sample is taken, and you can have 100 molds, you can have 10. So there's always multiple molds that are in that air sample, and a lot of them are okay to be in the home. Some of the others are not.
Okay, so you started doing this. I mean, your company started after Hurricane Andrew. You were helping, clean up people's homes after that disaster. Is mold something that people can tackle on their own? I mean, we're talking about prevention, so hopefully people are getting the wet stuff out, getting the walls open and dry. But is there, what if mold is already there? Like, could I, as a homeowner, remove my own mold?
So, the state of Texas is regulated with regards to mold. Right now, it's regulated by the Department of State Health Services. That's about to change here in the next few months. But so homeowners, you can do it on your own, but I wouldn't advise it unless you really know what you're doing, because you can let's say if you got mold on this corner, you can actually end up spreading that area and making your whole home contaminated with mold spores.
You can spread it?
Yep.
Like, how would someone accidentally spread it?
Well, mold cannot try to stay where it is unless it's disturbed. So once you start disturbing it, it just goes airborne and it goes everywhere.
Oh, interesting. So once it goes airborne, it may look for another place to go.
Yep, and it can migrate through your HVAC system to your return, and then now something that was localized in an area, now you just made it a widespread problem to the house.
Oh my gosh. Again, we're not trying to alarm people, but this is very important information to have. Earlier when Clayton was here and we were talking about the Greater Houston Builders Association and their guidelines, we talked a little bit about the use of bleach, because I feel like all of us have bleach at home, right? We just figure that's the magic bullet to take care of any contamination. And he warned against using bleach on the treated lumber that's sort of at the base of the wall, right? Because that can create actually arsenic that goes airborne, and clearly we don't want to be breathing in arsenic. Are there any concerns with using bleach for our own mold remediation at home?
So we never use bleach. Bleach is not good for any porous material, because what bleach does, the molecules of bleach, it doesn't allow it to penetrate. Okay. So all it does is just killing. It will kill whatever is on surface, but then it won't penetrate. So then now the molecules, now the water that's on the bleach is feeding that lumber or that drywall. So you're actually feeding it, then it's going to make it worse in the future, even though you kill what is on surface.
One more quick question, and then we're going to wrap. But what about other chemicals at home, like ammonia or alcohol or something?
Well, one of the ones that is mostly recommended is actually vinegar.
Vinegar. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask you more about the vinegar coming up. Hey, folks, Anthony's going to be here, so stick around, and we will be right back with